Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Prince.
All right, good afternoon, please. Don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I think I can hear you as well. Good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of the MarkHack 510 pre-conversation series. As we continue our conversations under this year's theme, the culture algorithm, AI, human experience. So today's session focuses on one of the most important conversations of our time. Excuse me. Yeah, today's session focuses on one of the most important conversations of our time, understanding how humanity can continue to thrive in an increasingly AI world. So our session topic today is the human experience in an AI world. The human experience in an AI world, navigating technology and humanity. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming how we live, work, communicate, create, and interact with the world around us. From automation and personalization to virtual experiences and intelligent systems, AI is becoming deeply integrated into everyday's life and reshaping human experiences across our industries and societies. But technology continues to evolve. Important questions emerge. How do we preserve empathy, creativity, authenticity, and human connection in an AI powered future? Okay, how do we ensure that technology remains a tool that enhances human potential rather than replacing the essence of what makes us human? So today's conversation, we explore the balance between innovation and humanity, examining how individuals, organizations, and societies can responsibly navigate the opportunities and challenges that come with rapid technological advancements. We will also discuss the role of ethics, inclusion, creativity, emotional intelligence, and human-centered design in shaping the future of AI. So joining us today are an exceptional in meaningful and impactful ways. So our first speaker today is Frank Felix. So Frank Ikechukwu Felix is an AI ML engineer and solution architect with over 5 years of experience building leads AI strategy and delivery at QCorn, specializing in AI, generative AI, multi-agent architecture, and LLM systems. A certified AWS and Microsoft Azure professional, Frank Felix is an AWS community builder and lead faculty for AI specialization at University, deeply committed to growing Africa's Africa's AI ecosystem. Yeah, he has spoken at global and continental stages, including GITES Nigeria, AWS Community Day West Africa, yeah, Data First Africa, and Microsoft Global AI Community, and loves every moment behind the mic. So you're welcome, Felix. Can you greet the audience?
Hi, Prince. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome, Felix. So also in our midst, we have Priska Ekagure. Yeah, Priska Ekagure is a tech advocate and Web3 educator, passionate about empowering the next generation of African innovators not just consume technology, but create it, making emerging technologies feel human, accessible, and unapologetically African. With expertise in blockchain, AI, Web3, and robotics. It drives technical transformation across continents through collaborations with organizations like ALS Africa and WASTEM, that is Women Advancing Excellence in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Hub. All right, so that is the WASTEM Hub. So recognized as a top leader in blockchain, that is on LinkedIn. So top 5 women in Web3, that is women in tech global awards, and top 100 women in tech ALS. So Priska is committed to fostering tech growth in Africa and beyond. You're welcome on board, Priska. Can you greet the audience?
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, welcome. Yeah. So third speaker is a good friend, visitor, Femisire Ajayi. Femisire Ajayi is a Nigerian marketing strategist, media professional, and experiential marketing expert, and ad tech innovator with over a decade of experience driving brand growth, consumer engagement, and marketing innovation across the communications industry. He has held leadership roles at firms including HS Media Group, Autori Limited, and Transmit, where he served as CEO. Leading advancement in media automation and programmatic advertising. So Femisire has contributed to campaigns like global sporting events such as the 2002 World Cup, FIFA World Cup, and coordinated impactful initiatives, including Get It Together campaign in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Recognized among Nigeria's top 33 under 35 marketing communication professionals in 2023, he is also the founder of Tazi Der Expertise, a strategic marketing think tank focused on culture, innovation, and consumer engagement, while continuing to shape conversation around the future of marketing and brand storytelling in Africa. So you're welcome, Femi. Can you help? Can you greet the audience?
Hi, Pencil. It's Tezzy the Experty, but okay, we forgive you on this one. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to an insightful and engaging discussion. So we kick off with the first round of questions. Coming out to start, I'll invite our first speaker, Frank Felix. So Frank, as AI systems become more integrated into everyday human and business, how can organizations ensure technology enhances human experience rather than replaces human judgment and connection? Over to you, Frank.
All right, so thank you very much. I think it's a really important question to ask, right? As we traverse, right, it's AI is becoming really, really integrated into everything that we do today, right? And why it's super, super important is because we have gotten to the point where it starts to replace some of the tasks that humans would typically take on. For example, I remember the first time using ChatGPT to write, right? And it was honestly was mind blowing. Although I knew how it worked internally, right? Because I've been following the AI and machine learning space over the years technically, but it was the first time that I was seeing it at scale, and humans, just anybody could relate to it. It's not just something that a typical technology man like myself would relate to. Anybody can relate to it. So it then creates this open space for a balance, right? So how do we ensure that AI enhances us rather than replaces us? That is what we are looking at. So there's a famous statement that I usually make, right? There's a famous statement. There's or a famous correction to a statement that I usually make. There's this notion that AI will take your jobs, right? AI will replace us, right? It's on everybody's mind, right? And I like to twist it a little bit, and I would say those who use AI will take your jobs, right? So at the end of the day, AI is but a tool, right? It can only be a tool. You can literally unplug it. There are servers where it's run, so you can literally unplug it. So AI is but a tool. So the notion that it ever would replace humans in general is, I would say, it's on the very far side from truth, right? So what it can only do is that it creates this a case where some of the things where we do ourselves as humans are democratized to AI, which means AI then solves those problems, and humans then focus on the higher level, more difficult problems. And we have seen that over history, right? History has repeated itself over and over again. Anytime from anytime there's a big jump in technology, example when we moved from example, when there was an event of steam engines and we started to create tools, what then happens is humans who used to operate those manual tools had to go and restudy and get more knowledge so that they can then operate in this new world. Now, they use those tools to then solve higher problems or more difficult problems. So at the end of the day, the first thing you need to first think about is scaling up to understand what this new world is, right? So typically that's what is basically going to bring balance, right? But essentially, right, how does it what role do humans necessarily play? I just want to run through a couple of points. What role do humans necessarily have to play in this world of AI? One is most AI systems, they have issues. Example, a big issue with, of course, everybody already knows if you have used any of those AI tools, one of those big issues will be things like hallucination and bias, right? Because of how the AI was trained. Sometimes it's not factually correct, right? So there are ways to mitigate it, but it's in the human's place to do things like correction, right? So basically, anything we are building for human oversight, right? Humans have to own the outputs of whatever AI is producing, and there must be adequate feedback loops. So learning about what the AI world is today, basically scaling up so that you can perform in this world, then owning and owning the outputs of whatever AI gives you is one of the ways that we can then balance and enhance such that there's no replacement per se, but we have equilibrium in the system basically.
Okay, thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you very much, Frank, on that wonderful insight on how useful human can be uh, to AI. All right, so thank you also for telling us how organizations can ensure technology enhances the human experience rather than replaces human judgment and connection. That was a wonderful point. Now, I'll come over to you, Priska. Priska, as emerging technologies become more embedded in everyday life, how can Africa ensure AI and Web3 remain human-centered, inclusive, and culturally relevant?
Okay, so I think it starts with a mindset shift. For a long time, Africa has been positioned as the end user of technology built elsewhere. So if we want AI and Web3 to actually serve us, we need to be in the rooms building these things. And I've noticed one thing. Normally we say the gap is we don't have enough funding, we don't have enough this, we don't have enough that. But it's not just about funding. It's about awareness. And then we Africans, we need to make sure that what we are building has a local context, that it can serve us in Africa. So first, we need to localize the data and the problems. AI is only as good as the data it learns from. So if we train models to understand only Western data sets, they won't understand Igbo, Yoruba, Swahili in Kenya, or the way we trade in our local markets. I've seen these conversations around robotics and AI. The tech works in a lab, but fails on our streets because it was not actually built for reality. So we need African developers to collect African data and build for African problems. Another thing is making it accessible in language and education. A lot of people hear Web3 or AI, but they just tune out because it sounds too technical. So we need to learn how to break complex technological terms into simple and engaging languages. Because if people understand it, then they can shape it. In Nigeria, we are trying a lot in respect to education around STEM, science, tech, engineering, all of that. We have university clubs, we have communities where young people are learning how to code and build, and that's really a fast step. So when, for instance, if a market trader understands that blockchain can help her to secure her records, she's more likely to use it. But if she's just hearing the term, blockchain, this should be like, what's blockchain? To be so confusing. Then third, we need to design with culture in mind, because most times, or let me say sometimes, we design against culture. Africa is not one culture. We have over 2,000 languages, and we have different ways. The way we behave in Nigeria might be different from the way they behave in Kenya. So if we try to design everything as per the way we behave in Nigeria, there's going to be problem. So we need to have diverse voices because we have diverse ways of organizing. And human-centered tech respects this. For example, Web3 projects who try to replace community trust with code or practical things, they might not scale through, because here in Africa, we base on trust. We base on relationships, we base on respect, elders. So the tech that we are building, we should make sure that it strengthens that, not that it's replacing it. So I would say let's push for STEM early. So if we start teaching our young people how to use science, how to build, not how to use alone, but how to build, we are going to create policies that are African based. So countries like Rwanda and Nigeria, we're already starting to do this, and it's exciting. So where we can say we've had a change, or we've done something. If an old person, let's say a grandmother in Ondo State, she knows how to use an AI app or a Web3 app without needing someone else to come and explain it for her or come and teach her how to use it, then we know that we've done our job. For instance, nowadays, old people, they are able to use Android phones, but before they couldn't. So we are actually heading there with time.
Okay, thank you very much, Priska, for the insights on emerging technologies, how Africans can ensure AI and web remain human-centered, inclusive, and culturally relevant. That was a wonderful insight. I will come over to you, Femi Sire. Femi Sire, yeah, pardon me for the for not spelling it right. Okay, as AI increasingly shapes advertising, media buying, and consumer targeting, how can brands maintain authentic human connection in an automated marketing system or ecosystem?
Okay. Hi everyone again. I hope everyone can hear me clearly. To answer your question, Prince-Will, I would say that first off, um, data is good, right? Data allows us get information, right? And then AI, as it were, allows us get even better information, and we're able to sift through the information um, faster and more efficiently. However, data without context, right, is just noise. It's a lot of noise. So I would agree with what Felix said, Frank said earlier when he spoke about the people who use AI kind of have an edge. Um, because that's what it is. There's an edge, right? So AI can optimize reach, however, it cannot and should not replace, real human insights. That's a big thing. Now, in markets like Nigeria, across Africa, we're very cultural. We're very big on how we interact with each other. We're very big on how things were done, how things are going to be done going forward, how things are going to be done going forward with how things were done, in the past, right? So culture is big in these parts, and I dare say it moves faster than even algorithms, right? People still connect through shared experiences. People want to come together. There's language, there's culture, there's humor. That sense of community is very big in this part, and then the brands who, to be fair, um, optimize for proper AI use and AI efficiency are the ones who would end up winning. However, I would say this now, and I dare to be quoted anyway, that the brands who actually do keep humans in charge of this entire process will still be the ones to come out on top. So when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about the, storytelling angle to it. I'm talking about the cultural nuances. I'm talking about the empathy. I'm talking about everything that literally brings us together as human beings, right? So technology should, right, in all honesty, technology should help brands connect better. Technology help brands listen better. However, in the response to what they listen to, they should be very intentional about not sounding robotic, right? So while AI is great for brands and how we come together and how brands disseminate information and interact with the audiences, it's a big thing that we don't let these brands now start to, you start to lose your individuality. You start to lose your realness, and then you start to look like every other brand because everybody's literally using the same tool that you're using. Everybody's using the same set of prompts, and then it's a big thing. So yes, while I agree that AI is a big thing, AI helps, and of course it makes things a whole lot better. However, the human angle to things should not, for any reason, be tampered with. Prince, you're still
Oh,
muted. Okay,
sorry, I didn't know I was muted.
that's it.
Thank you very much for telling us how AI can shape advertising, media, and buying and consumer targeting, and also how these brands maintain authentic human connection in an automated marketing ecosystem. So we are going to move on to the next round of questions, and then I'll start with you. I'll come over again to you, Frank. So Frank, from your experience from your work in generative AI, multi-agent systems, so what opportunities do you see for Africa to build AI solutions that are culturally relevant and human-centered?
Okay, so I think Africa, the general notion is that we're in a disadvantaged position, right? Because it seems like the rest of the world is moving and we have to play catch up, right? Yes and no. There are some strategic advantages that Africa has, right? And there are some real opportunities, right? Africa is one of the most diverse places. The depth of what you can get AI is sometimes sits in the core of diversity, right? Again, and I will agree with the last point that the last speaker just made, that bringing in the African context, or not African context in this case, putting in the human context, and by extension, if the person is African or the person has the African flavor to them, they also bring in the African context, especially if you're managing an African brand. Right. But generally, some of the advantages where we are seeing is, if you know Africa, if you know how, the African history well, right? We have always been very vocal, right? In fact, most of our early documentation have always been vocal. In fact, folklores have been one of our biggest ways to have passed down history. So we went down from that form of communication, and we seem to follow the rest of the world to standardize, example, in text and the rest, right? And now we are moving now, right? And where the world is going to now is getting advantage in language and voice first AI, right? The most dynamic place in the world for language is Africa. I think it was Precious that made that statement. So language is really important, right? So we're getting to a place where language is now becoming the base of everything. We're solving every problem with language. All your AI models, the AI models you use, for example, ChatGPT, the base of it is a large language model. Because we have passed every idea we have ever gotten in life as humans through language. So Africa has a very strategic advantage there. That's why we're the most diverse in language, although it comes with its difficulties. Right. So what then do we need to do to take advantage of that take advantage of that advantage, basically, if you permit me to use those phrasy words that way, right? It goes back to what the other speaker said. We need to build for us by us, right? We need to take advantage of those things, right? So I would say we are getting to a place where the interface between us and any technology we are using now is getting to voice, and where Africa has that strategic advantage is language. Right. The other thing that is also important is that most of the advantages that we have, right, is most of the advantages in the technological space today is community driven. Right. Most of your top tier technology is under what we call open source. Open source is where people come together to solve a collective problem, and it belongs to the community. And again, if you understand what the African ecosystem looks like, we are majorly community driven, right? So maybe it's a result of us not having all of the resources, but we also have an advantage in community, right? So I see that a lot of solutions are going to be solved and a lot of things are going to be broken from Africa because we have two advantages. The baseline of technology today is language. We have that advantage. The baseline of solving some problems today is community driven, and we are very, very good at solving problems through community. So I think that's where Africa has an advantage with technology. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Frank. I wish I could allow you to go on and on for the wonderful insights. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll come over to you, Priska. Following you online, your profile, you often speak about moving Africans from technology consumers to creators. Now, here is the question. In an AI-driven world, what does meaningful participation and ownership look like for young Africans? Priska.
Okay, so when I talk about moving Africans from consumers to creators, I don't mean that everyone needs to become a machine learning engineer overnight, because that's not realistic. But I do think that every young African should have a chance to touch AI. What do I mean? They need to understand AI. They need to use AI every day to solve problems that they are seeing around them. Building does not always involve codes. It starts with access and confidence. For instance, I talk about STEM and AI because most young people don't even know what is possible until they see it broken down into bits. For instance, last month I shared a post on a simple physics trick. It looked like magic, and everyone was like, "Oh, is it magic? Is it fake? Is it AI?" And I was like, "This is not the trick. This is not the point. It's not about the trick." So at the end of the video, the person showed how the trick was done, and it was actually very simple. So when people start to see the principles behind tech, they see that it's not something impossible. It's not magic. It's possible. Same thing with AI. If a student in, let's say, Benin City can take a free Microsoft AI course and build a chatbot for her local market in Pidgin, in Yoruba, in Edo, that's creation. We've got people that are already doing that. Some people in, I think, Google developer groups, yes, they've built something in Pidgin language completely. Then we also have owning. Now that's where it gets real, because creation without ownership keeps us stuck as contractors, meaning we don't have a say. Most times we see jobs saying maybe they're paying us $2 per hour. And because of our economy, we are thinking, oh, this is a good deal. But it's not. Meaningful participation doesn't mean we are just labeling data for others, but it means we are actually building the model. We are owning the data sets. They're not just using us and giving us little cash so that we think that, yes, we've achieved something. So, for example, if an AI tool is using voice data from Yoruba speaking people, those communities, they should have a say in how it is being used and benefit from it. So if we do this kind of thing, we know that, yes, we are heading in the right direction. Then one other thing is telling our own stories. I personally, I underestimated that fact, telling my story. Since AI, like I said earlier, reflects the data that it is trained on. If all the data AI is trained on is from US or Europe, the AI will assume that the world looks like that. So when young people in Africa build, we don't want to, it's not bad if we take data sets from Europe or US, but we also want to train the AI on our own data. We want, even if it is something as little as a Web3 platform for savings that is common in our culture, we want to feed our culture into that AI, back into the system. That's where ownership comes in. So for me, it's simple like this. One, we learn skills through practical projects, not just theory. Oh, AI is this, AI is that, and we start getting wrong things about AI. We learn practical skills, build products for our local problems, not and get equity, not the one that we are just working for others
Okay,
with data that is
Mr. I have to cut you short because of our time. Thank you. I really grabbed all you've said so far and how we can take advantage, and also on your part of storytelling, how we can tell our own stories. Okay, thank you very much. And then for our viewers just joining us, this is our session, third session for this year's MarkHack 5.0 pre-conversation. And our session topic today is human experience in an AI world. So we have on we have here in our midst Frank Felix, Priska Ekagure, and Femi Sire Ajayi. So thank you for joining us as we look forward to this engaging discussion. So now I'll come over to you, Femi. So from your experience in an experiential marketing, what aspects of human experience can technology enhance, and what aspects should never be replaced by AI?
Okay, so first off, I would say I dare AI to try to replace a couple of things. The human element to things, right? The five senses, which are the things that every experiential marketing plan or goal is to excite. So you're exciting the five senses, or at least, more than few of them, right? And then there's the community, like I spoke earlier about when you talk about events, when you talk about bringing people together. So AI cannot give you that, right? When you go for a Coachella and you're in the midst of, 3,000, 2,000, 5,000 people, AI can never replace that. When you are right in the middle of Lagos, Isaleko and Eyo is happening, AI can never even hope to replace that anytime soon, right? So I think there are a couple of things that AI can never replace, in my opinion. Um, However, the things that AI can make better, they do abound, right? And this is understanding the audiences better, being able to track, being able to vet, being able to create smarter experiences. And I'm saying smarter experiences because a lot of times it just makes for better interaction, right, with tech, as it were. And I'll give you an example. When you are from the entire, checking in experience from events, for instance, right? How you get your tickets, and if you look at it over time, or in recent times, it's gotten better. As opposed to everybody going to queue at the front of the venue and everybody's trying to show tickets and there are people trying to check and tag. Now you find situations where you get your QR code before you get to the venue. You get to the venue, you scan yourself in, and you're going. Even in airports, right? So all of those things are things that I believe AI can, and to be honest, should make better. Um, but again, in terms of spontaneous interaction, cultural interpretation, trust building, being skin to skin in a concert at a rave, you can never get AI to do anything about that. Now, can AI make that experience better? Of course, in terms of the lighting. So if, for instance, AI is properly deployed, then you can, again, like I said earlier, understand your audience better, which means that the kind of music you play can be based on the mood of the people that are right there in the venue. It can also mean that you've got the mood being interpreted in real time, and then you have the lighting of the space changing to reflect that. So if everybody's in a calm, or if a lot of people are more hyper, then AI can bring that to bear and bring that to the fore of that. So there are a lot of things that I believe that AI and experiential marketing can come together to make really great. But in terms of how a brand makes people feel at its core, I don't see AI replacing that anytime soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Femi. I really enjoyed that. I was taking note. So thank you for sharing your this insight on your experience in experiential marketing on what aspects can never be replaced by AI. Like human experience, what aspects of human experience can technology enhance? Thank you very much, and I'm glad the audience will learn from that. So I'll come over to you, Frank Felix. And this time, because of our time, I would like to appeal to you to take 2 minutes on each questions, latest 3 minutes on each of these questions, so we can ramp up and entertain questions from our audience. So Frank Felix, how can businesses and institutions balance the speed and efficiency of AI with concerns around trust, ethics, authenticity, and human interaction?
Okay. I think a way to treat AI is pretty much simple, right? Especially if you're a business looking to bring AI. Think of AI like you are hiring a very smart guy, but it's missing a couple of things like intuition, right? So humans over time have biases too, right? But one thing that we also do in this session, yeah, give me a second, please. So sorry about that. So humans have their own biases, and this is usually where we then bring in intuition to solve some of those problems. So how to bring businesses balance between speed and efficiency, especially with trust. So the truth of the matter is speed without trust is just fragile, right? Imagine an AI giving you responses really fast, and you can't trust those responses to make decisions, right? So that is typically where it breaks. But I think the answer to this question sits within the first answer I gave, right? There must be transparency in the design of how you bring in AI. Example, you will typically design AI systems such that a way that it brings you to the last leg just before execution, and humans are in charge of every interaction that has to deal with taking the final leg, right? With that way, humans are within the loop, especially if it's a business that there are some critical decisions you have to take. Humans have to be in the loop to do things like evaluation, make sure that it matches the context of the problem that is being solved, make sure ethics is in place, make sure that solution is well governed, make sure there's authentication and authorization within the process. But I think that was typically where the answer sits. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I got that very well. So at least businesses and institutions can balance the speed of efficiency of AI with concerns around trust, ethics, and authenticity and human interaction. Okay, once again, thank you, Felix, for the insight. Now, come over to you, Priska. How can innovators and tech communities design AI experiences that feel more accessible, reliable, and reflective of human realities and identities?
Okay, I'll say it doesn't make sense to a trader in the local market or a student in the local school, then we know that we've missed the mark. So many tools are impressive only technically because people don't actually understand it. So accessibility and relatability should not be options. It should be what we are working with from the beginning. Second, we also want to design the product around existing behaviors of people, not against our behaviors. In Africa, we have strong community structures, like a speaker earlier said. We have saving groups, we have market associations. When you design a product that supports that, people tend to accept it the more. Most people are concerned about losing their jobs to AI, but that's not the point. The point is working together with AI to make our jobs easier. Then we also want to make the tech feel human. Most people are intimidated by AI because people present it like it's one elite thing, it's not for everybody. But if your product is showing that everybody, anybody can use it, they'll realize that, oh, this is just math and logic. And I can understand. So the fear drops and they're able to also use it. And finally, bring the community into the design process early. Sometimes after designing something and when you finally launch it, you're like, people don't use it the way you're thinking. Yeah, you're imagining that 1,000 people are going to rush this product in 1 week. But the main point is go to the local markets, go to the markets, go to the teachers, pay them to give you feedback while you are still building the product. So when you go there, they give you their feedback. You pay them for it, they'll willingly give you feedback, and then you design based on what they've said. So that's how get something to be of African identity, so that it is shaped by us, and it doesn't need to be flashy, but if it's useful, we'll be able to use it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Priska. Thank you for taking your time to do justice to that. So I'll come over to you, Femi. The question, how is data-driven advertising and programmatic media influencing culture, consumer behavior, and the way audiences engage with brands today? I come again, please. How is data-driven advertising and programmatic media influencing culture? That's one. Consumer behavior and the way audiences engage with brands today. Femi, Sire.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks, Ron. To be fair, when you talk about what data-driven advertising is in these times, I would say that it's and this is not to upset any particular set of people, but advertising has moved a bit away from mass communication where we're now having precision engagement, right? We're not just beating around the bush, making the loudest noise. Um, over a decade ago, when I joined this, and I think this is the thing for the OGs, right? Some people used to refer to um, good advertising or marketing, as it were, as shout and well well. Actually, in experiential, it's a phrase. If you talk to everybody who's been around for a while, it's something we used to call shout and well well. It literally was just make the most noise, have the shiniest roadshow rig or the loudest MC, and you essentially would somehow get to funnel people into the mix, right? But right now, with data, we have a bit more precision there. It's targeted, right? And then, with what algorithms are doing in understanding consumer behavior, buyer behavior, programmatic media is meeting you right where you would be. That totally has changed a lot of things. So even for consumers, the expectations of relevance, immediacy, personalization, stuff that connects with me as a person, has changed how they expect brands to interact with them, right? In Africa, as they were, the adoption of tech, of AI, or of digital anything as a whole, right, is exploding, if I can use that word, right? And now brands have that unique opportunity to connect to people where they normally would be. You would not try to talk to someone who you should be speaking to in church at a bar, for instance, you understand the local communities. Again, like I always say, information has to be nuanced. If not, you're going to miss it. Now, the ability to do that with the use of AI has totally changed a lot of things and has given brands as well as marketers and agencies and custodians of this um, brands a better opportunity to create what I call meaningful representation. So I think led marketing is what it is now. There's no more looking for stuff in the dark. AI has allowed us, shine a light, and then I think it's an opportunity that everybody can use.
Hey, thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you very much, Femi Shiri. So, for those still joining us on YouTube and still on this space, our session topic today is human experience in an AI world, that is navigating technology and humanity, taken from our team, this year's team for the MarkHack 5.0, the culture, algorithm, AI, and human experience. So, having these people on board, that is having these experts, thought leaders, innovators, and creative and industry experts who have so far shared their insights with us. So you're welcome, and we look forward to more on that. So let's move over to the next round of questions, and then I'll come over to you, Priska. So, Priska, with technologies like AI, blockchain, and robotics rapidly evolving how we balance technological advancements with preserving authentic human connection and cultural identities. So how do we balance this technological advancement, please?
Okay, so I don't think it's a choice actually between tech and culture. The problem is when we let tech take over everything in the name of progress. The goal should not to be to use our tools to erase our culture. It should be to amplify our culture. On the one hand, I'm excited about AI and robotics. But on the other hand, I'm African. So community, the way we greet, the way we do business, storytelling, it shouldn't be negotiable. We shouldn't say we want to replace it with technology. So we want to start by being intentional about what we automate and what we don't. It's not everything that needs an algorithm. Some things would lose meaning if you take the human out of it. In Nigeria, businesses are run on trust, face to face, and all of that. If you say, okay, blockchain can help verify transactions, it cannot replace the relationship between a supplier and a customer that have known each other for 10 years plus. So the smart move is to use blockchain to support that trust, not to replace it. We also have to keep the human in the loop, literally. AI and robotics are powerful, but they are just tools. If we look at them with the mindset that these are tools, we won't be carried away. So when we want to, the best thing is hybrid, both the robot, the machine handling the repetitive tasks, the heavy parts, and the human handling the judgment, empathy, context. Because if we say we want robots to replace teachers in a school, they are there, they have the knowledge, they can pass it down. Okay, 2 plus 2 is 4 and this and that. But they don't have that empathy. They don't have ability to show empathy, context, to realize that, oh, this child is feeling sad. What happened? So that is where human comes in. So a robot cannot just replace everything. They replace the hard parts, while we are also there to do the human part. Then we need to actively protect and digitize our cultural identity. For instance, if we don't put our languages, our art, our history into this data, then the AI will never reflect us. Future years to come, our children will not know that we once had this art. So if we can digitize it, create NFTs in African art, that's going to advance our identity instead of weakening it. So for me, first, we use tech to solve our problems. Then keep humans central to decisions that require empathy and judgment. And three, we invest in capturing and using African data and culture so that the tech reflects us back to ourselves.
Okay, thank you very much, Priska. If not the time, I was enjoying the points you making, but because of our time. So thank you once again. I'll come over to you, Femi Shire. So, Femi Shire, as marketing becomes more algorithm-driven, what responsibility do brands, agencies, and media platforms have in ensuring technology remains ethical, culturally relevant, and human-centered?
okay. Um, so I would say that for this, and I'm happy, the question you asked about how it's not just the brand, it's also the agency, it's also um, the entire, supply chain on people in charge of this. So I would say for a fact that, we as agencies or as brand custodians have the onus is on us, right? To act as cultural gatekeepers, and that's very important. And this is because tech is tech, and I'm kind of, I smiled when Priska was talking earlier. Um, and that's because she made some comments. It's what it is, right? Now, AI is intelligent enough to pass on information, but the AI is not, emotionally intelligent enough to understand certain things. And like I talked about context, I talked about nuance, I talked about um, being able to understand that, while, 2 plus 2 would give you 4, sometimes your 4 would be 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, right? So we can't expect AI to understand bias. We can't expect AI to understand, you know, misinformation. We can't expect AI to understand exclusion, cultural diversity. People understanding that, look, you can't say certain things to certain people. You can't say certain things at certain times, right? So AI understands that these things happened. This is the reality because AI has been fed facts, right? But it's not intelligent enough to know that certain things should not be said, for instance, at certain times. We've had certain ads that have been put out over time where, the brand, is seriously lashed and flogged and, dragged, like they say online, because they put out something that didn't connect properly or at all, right? So the way we greet, for instance, if you're going to look at how AI operates, in the African culture, greeting is a big thing for us. Respect is a big thing for us. So you just put out advertising that is just, oh well, just go and do it. And like I said earlier, you now get to the point where every brand starts to look the same. Every brand does not understand how things are. If you're going to look at how information is consumed, for instance, you can't act like this is the United States, this is Nigeria. If you're going to look at how a car would perform, maybe you're trying to buy a car and you now go and give us stats from the US that happens to have better roads, right? And you're not taking into consideration the fact that Nigeria is filled with potholes and there are, faulty things. And then there's before you move, you buy a turbocharged vehicle in Nigeria, it's a problem, right? So yeah, it's a thing, and I think the technology that respects people and reflects our cultures are very big in this part. And as agencies and as brand custodians, I think again the onus is on us to act as gatekeepers and for us to be able to channel this properly. So yeah, that's around it for that.
Um, Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that insight. I really enjoyed this. I would have loved you to continue, but I just have to look at the time because I'm really gaining a lot from you. Once again, thank you, Femi Shirin, for that. So, time for question from the audience. And before I throw the floor open, I can see a question. This is my question for Priska. Yeah, from Excellence, right? Yeah. Um, Priska, here is a question for you. As AI, Web3, and emerging technologies continue to evolve rapidly, how can African innovators and young creators move from simply consuming these technologies to actively building solutions that are locally relevant and globally competitive? So you can just use a minute or two to run this up briefly, Priska.
Okay. So if we're talking about building tech for global, yes, if you want it to be for both global and local, then we need to involve both the data sets for the global side and the data set for the local side. An African person can say they want to build a product that is only for local. Or if you say you want to build a product that does not concern Nigerians at all, that's still okay. So you know that, okay, I'm not building for my country, I'm not building for Africa, I want to build for another for global, apart from Africa. That's still okay. That means you don't need to apply whatever it's related to with Africans. So I think that. But if you want to build both, you have to inculcate both Africa and global together.
Okay, thank you very much for that brief response. Thank you. I believe this must have satisfied the excellence, the person that asked this. So I got another message on my DM, this time for Femi. Those are from our YouTube audience. So Femi, in today's AI-driven attention economy, so how can brands maintain authentic human connections with their audience? I think one of the speakers addressed this, but I will still ask, how can brands maintain authentic human connections with their audiences, still leveraging algorithm, personalization, and data-driven marketing strategies at scale? So with just a minute, please.
I actually think I've answered this question in multiple ways.
Maybe you can just, for
So
the
I'm
sake
just
of
gonna,
the
yes, I'm just gonna put this out. So the truth is, we need to look every time I say this, and for someone who's very forward thinking, as I like to think of myself, I'd say that we need to do better in terms of understanding the people that we're talking to and people that we're marketing to. This is very big. And this is because if you don't nuance certain things, you would miss it. If you say that everybody in, Unilag, for instance, is an outsider, right? Someone who always would be ready to turn up and party and drink alcohol, you would be wrong, right? So while it's not a church school, like they like to say, you will be wrong. Now, if you say that everybody who goes to church, for instance, is a very religious person and who goes to mosque means they don't drink alcohol, you would also be wrong. There are things that, if you put into AI and say, if people go to church and just go to the offices and come back, it most likely will tell you, oh, that means they are going to be boxed in a certain, cadre or a certain set. No, that's not the truth. So human beings need to take whatever data they get, nuance it based on. I'll give you a very good one. One of my very popular examples. If you're going to look at digital or mobile penetration in Nigeria, right, you would say and argue that, oh, let me give a fictitious number now. Oh, we've got about 5 million active SIMs, right? That means 5 million people are using SIM cards or have mobile or telephonic connections in Nigeria, right? But the truth is, about 2 million people own those 5 million SIMs, right? So if you're going to look at it and you want to invest, for instance, and you say, oh, you want to start a business, and someone gives you numbers, data is correct. There are 5 million active SIMs, but one guy has 2 SIMs. One guy has 3 phones. He has one for when he's in the village. He has one for when he's in the city. He has one he's using for business. So that's totally wrong. So being human, understanding how things work, the cultural relevance of things is something that you cannot, or to be honest, should not leave to AI in itself.
Okay, thank you very much. I love that. So I guess are there other questions from the audience, from the participants, please? You can mute and ask. Okay. Thank you to all our speakers for their wonderful, insightful contributions and engaging perspectives during today's week 3 session of MarkHack 5.0 pre-conversation. Today's conversation on human experience in an AI world, that is navigating technology and humanity, has reminded us that while technology continues to evolve in an incredible pace, the human experience must remain at the center of innovation. That I could grab from all the speakers. So from creativity and empathy to ethics and human connection. Today's discussion has highlighted the importance of building technology that truly serves people and enhances our collective future. So we want to sincerely thank and appreciate everyone who joined us today. Your participation, engagement, and contribution continue to make these conversations meaningful and impactful as we explore this year's theme, the culture algorithm, AI and human experience. So as we conclude today's session, we warmly invite you to join us at the main MarkHack event happening on June 5th at Oriental Hotel. Okay. The event will bring together innovators, founders, creatives, marketers, technology leaders, startups, and ecosystem stakeholders for a day of transformative conversations, networking, innovation showcases, and future-focused insights shaping Africa's digital economy. So thank you once again for being part of today's session. Thank you, Priska. Thank you, Femi Shire. We look
You're
forward to
welcome.
seeing you at MarkHack 5.0 on June 5th. So my name is Prince Will Onyekachi. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you, Prince Will. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Please,
Ken.
Yeah, thank you.